a £100 fine. We'll be talking about the new rules for face coverings throughout the morning and what the changes might mean for you.
Let's get ready to see what the BS news is today.
I'm on Twitter at Anita_McVeigh, or you can email us using the hashtag BBC Your Questions. Also this hour, a massive expansion of jabs in England. 30 million people will be offered them to help stop the NHS being overwhelmed if there's a second wave of coronavirus.
If there's a second wave. No, there will be a second wave. You've already been drumming it to us for the past 2 months.
A serious illness, and we don't want people to have to go to hospital with flu, or for instance to catch flu.
Yeah, I wouldn't want them to get any worse to pack than what they've already been.
Is expected to announce new
all the thousands pouring in,
including a ban on TV adverts for junk food before 9 o'clock in the evening.
Well, they'll ban their adverts, but they won't shut McDonald's down, eh?
Consulates in China, the latest escalation in a
what's that fucking tell you?
Countries. Cancelled by coronavirus, President Trump calls off the Republican convention in Florida, one of the party's biggest re-election.
It's a bit like how they put all these.
The Duke and Duchess of Sussex take legal action after a drone allegedly took pictures of their son Archie.
Allegedly. Allegedly. It's a bit like I was going to say how they put these pictures on fag packets, backer packets, people's guts, fucking all this shit. How you can end up by smoking, but they don't stop the production of cigarettes and tobacco though, do they? That's their fucking hypocrisy.
Hello, a very good morning to you, and welcome to BBC News. I'm Anita McVeigh.
Right, let's listen to your shit.
Coverings are now compulsory in shops in England as new coronavirus rules
not mandatory, compulsory.
12 hours
there is a difference.
Releasing their new guidelines. Police can now hand out £100 fines to anyone not wearing a face covering in enclosed public spaces like banks, supermarkets and takeaways. But some shops have said they won't be enforcing the rules.
Well, thank fuck for that. I'm glad of that. The ones with fucking brains.
But they're not currently required in Wales or Northern Ireland.
I don't feel they can police it.
Ministers are planning to double the number of people given the flu jab in England this winter amid concerns it could coincide with a surge.
Oh, I've already predicted this.
30 million people.
I've already predicted this.
Those living with people shielding and children in their first year.
It won't be the flu jab you'll be getting like last year.
Scotland, Wales,
it'll be the COVID jab. That's why they've got to double it.
Their plans.
Let's just creep in the COVID. Use the flu vaccine.
Obesity in the UK next week, in the hopes that a healthier population can better fight a
use the flu jab.
Outbreak. The new policies could include a ban
to give you the COVID jab.
Adverts. We'll be looking at all of these stories this morning, but first John Donnison reports on the new face covering rules.
Spoke about this last night with me mate. We always have conversations about what's going on, update ourselves on his own thoughts.
Our lives and a new set of rules.
And what they just said is virtually what we spoke about as predictions last night. Can you believe it?
Shops, supermarkets and shopping centres. There'll potentially be a £100 fine for those who don't comply. But if you're eating food in the premises from which you're buying it, you can take the mask off. Restaurants, cinemas, salons, gyms and pubs are exempt too.
I think it's really important because it's
amazing, isn't it, how a virus makes exceptions depending on where you are. So if you're eating, a virus just sits back.
I think it's a good idea to wear.
Amazing, isn't it, that?
Keep people safe,
But these sick fucks like her there
keep people safe, you know. Oh well, it's about keeping us safe.
Political, isn't it?
Fucking brain deads all over the place.
As will people with certain health conditions and disabilities. But there are concerns about who will enforce the rules. Some shop owners have said they're worried about what to do if customers refuse to wear a mask.
There is
I'll be one of them.
For the police to be involved in enforcement, for there to be fines, but I really don't think we will need to go down that line because most people will.
Yeah, because I'll see you in court.
You take this very seriously.
Take me to court, I won't pay a fine. Take me to court.
Police officers has warned
you've got all day when I start telling you what the fuck's going on.
And will only issue fines as a last resort.
They've kicked me out of court.
BBC News.
Let's speak now to Charlotte Gatwood, who's director of Gatwood's, the UK's oldest family jewellers. Charlotte, really good to have you with us today. First of all, how have your customers so far been responding to the idea of wearing face coverings? Are they adapting to it pretty readily?
Yeah, I mean,
pretty readily.
The majority of people are coming into the
I'm
shop
ready.
with face coverings. So,
I'm ready to wear a mask.
Distancing, everybody in the UK was very compliant with that. So I think.
No, the wordings, what they say, are totally fucked up, aren't they, half the time?
But in your business, you have security concerns as well, don't you?
Yes, we do. Yes, so obviously being.
Don't forget what the news say. It's all scripted. It's all worded, especially to be against you. It's not for you. Everything they say is against you.
CCTV cameras, and there is a risk, obviously.
Just think, double think when you listen to the news. Double think.
And if we had a raid,
Think on the flip card.
there really is no way of identifying them. So we've implemented a system where we have a doorbell. We've put a sign on our door to say, please ring the doorbell, remove your covering temporarily to look into the camera, and then we will let you in. So it's not ideal having a closed door policy, but that is the only way really that we can get around it.
And you have a record then of everyone coming into your premises.
A record of everyone coming into your premises.
Who has had items
Wonder who gets hold of that?
A thief who disguises
If it's all on the internet,
using a face covering.
what happens if a computer gets hacked?
Yes, I just know of somebody else in the industry, and they.
You're all over the place. Your information, a record.
We're not able to have the closed door policy that we have, and that's very unfortunate, and that is one of the issues with enforced face coverings in a store such as ours.
Shouldn't be any for face coverings, period.
How important, though, overall, setting aside those security concerns, and you found a way around that, how important is it, do you think, that people get on board with this? We've heard from some businesses that they're not going to be asking their staff to.
I'm pleased to hear it.
To enforce.
I am pleased to hear it.
Regulations. What are you saying to the people who
tell our government get fucking stuffed?
Well, look, we've been wearing face coverings since we reopened on the 17th of June. I've been wearing a face shield, but I
What a fool you.
Face shields and face masks available for all of my team. We also have perspex screens at every single serving counter, so we're taking it very seriously.
Screens, can you believe
we
it?
We all want to avoid another lockdown, so we need to do whatever we can.
Perspex screen's going to avoid another lockdown, is it? What planet says woman living on?
What would you
if you've got a perspex screen,
they haven't
you ain't going to get a second lockdown. You'll get a second lockdown no matter what, because the government are pulling the strings.
So
she's stupid.
Available. So we can provide somebody with a mask. Our local, we have a bid at Business Improvement District where at the information centre they're selling masks, literally just 100 yards from our shop.
Oh, they're raking it and selling masks. Someone's earning a shitload of money.
Wear a mask, but my concern would be damaging the goodwill of my customers that are complying and are wearing masks if I let somebody in that isn't wearing one.
Oh, she's brain dead, man.
It's a difficult one. It's one we haven't had to address yet, but I'm sure.
More concern for the mask wearers, not the people who just don't wish to wear a mask.
That's interesting. I mean, do you think ultimately that there will be quite a degree of peer pressure, and that people who are reluctant to wear masks for whatever reason will feel...
For whatever reason? I don't need a reason not wear a mask.
Yes, I think that's already happening.
Breathing fresh air, is that a good enough reason?
Social media,
I won't live. I won't breathe fresh air, keep my lungs fresh.
Wearing masks.
Is that a good enough reason?
I think that the people that don't want to wear them either won't go shopping, or eventually I think that just the weight of public opinion will sway them.
The weight of no, thank you.
And,
the weight of public opinion. No.
As a matter of course.
Weight of public opinion won't persuade me.
We're going to get used to this, and this message of doing it for the greater good, for the protection of both ourselves and everyone.
Defy my own beliefs.
That convinces people.
The weight of a public opinion is going to do that.
To change their
no way.
I think so. Yeah. Look, we've had to get used to a lot of changes in a very.
Well, you haven't had getting used to anything at all.
If we were to say a year ago that we'd all.
You haven't had to get used to it. You complied.
Social distancing.
Like a fucking moron.
Markets, people wouldn't have believed you, but in the main, the public have complied with that, and I think they will with face masks. It's not ideal. I don't like wearing a face mask, but I
you do. You love it.
I want to avoid.
You like to be seen like the rest.
Another, big spike in COVID cases.
Part of the herd. Follow the herd.
The main will feel the same.
Part of the club.
Okay, Charlotte. Good to talk to you. Thank you very much.
I'm with you guys, the good guys.
The director.
We're the mask wearers.
No problem. Thanks.
Probably on fucking Facebook a lot, I know.
That there are exemptions to these new rules for children under 11. Those with disabilities or certain health conditions such as respiratory or cognitive impairments that make it difficult.
Well, you certainly have health conditions when you're fucking wearing them 24/7.
Parents not to buy coverage.
That's when you'll start with the health conditions.
Because of the risk of choking or suffocation.
Risk of suffocation.
The population of England.
That's what fucking mass are going to do to you.
This winter, as the government tries to avoid the NHS being overwhelmed by a combination of both seasonal flu and COVID-19.
Overwhelmed, no. Listen carefully here, folks.
Scheme, which has been extended to include everyone over 50.
They're going to manipulate the thingy. The winter flu jab, they're manipulating it to tie in perfectly in line with the COVID. Then they'll use the flu, the winter flu, what they're spreading by the vaccine, they'll use that as the second wave excuse. When everyone starts getting a cold, oh, here we go, second wave.
Along with preschool and primary school children. Added to the
Great trick, innit?
Will be the over 50s, Year 7 pupils, and all those
shove
who've
it.
been shielded,
Shove it.
as well as their households. The news was
Never had a flu jab and never get one, and I advise all my family never get one.
To a normal pace, rather than now having to worry about coming out.
Queue up like cattle for get a shot.
Flu season, which we get every year anyway, but you know, with coronavirus around as well, it's kind of like a double situation that we want to avoid, really.
But the Royal College of GPs
boot your flu jab today.
That at-risk patients were confident about coming into surgeries.
You know, it's like booking a bus for an holiday, innit? That's how they make it out, don't they? Oh, it's nothing to worry about. Roll your sleeve up, get your shot. Don't worry about here. You'll be gone in 2 seconds.
Wales and Northern Ireland.
Yeah, it's the long-lasting effect what fucks you up.
BBC News.
Let's talk now to Dr. Andy Preston, who's an expert in vaccines and respiratory infections at the University of Bath. Andy, good to have you with us again on BBC News. First things first, let's get basic principles sorted, because this is a question that's...
Fucking hell, holding this camera, my fucking arm starts aching.
Giving someone
so apologise if it shakes a bit.
Shape or form going to directly
swapping arms
them against COVID-19, is it?
No, they're two entirely different viruses. So this is purely against getting the flu disease. But as you pointed out, this is going to be crucial for helping the NHS get through a potential second wave of coronavirus in the winter.
So yes, the flu vaccine...
They're making out as though it's been jammed up, aren't they, in this 4-month lockdown?
COVID-19, because
NH staff have been laid off. They've been bored in hospitals twiddling their thumbs. 95% of hospitals have been empty.
Or even significant spikes of COVID-19. That could pose a real problem for the NHS, couldn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, flu places a...
You're being lied to, folks.
Each winter. So I think, you know,
you're being lied to.
See that the two combined, so a second wave or spikes of COVID plus...
Ramming the second wave. I can guarantee you now they'll be hyping up the second wave because the deadline's coming. They'll be hyping this up even more. Second wave, second wave, second wave.
Exposed to flu, so it's not only having additional patients into the clinics, it's also the effect on the availability to work of healthcare workers if they're suffering from flu. So the protection all round, it has that double effect.
What do you make of the groups it's being expanded to, the offer of the free vaccination? So over 50s and
because it's free is worthy. Anything that's free is worth having.
Is that the right place, the right groups of
people? Don't forget that, we'll get that word in, it's free.
I think so.
Oh, you've got to get it then.
We tend to try and protect those that are most likely to suffer the worst from the disease.
For those that think it's fucking free.
The older age groups.
Government have been raping you for years in your taxes.
Once you start to get into the 50s
and everything else,
the increased risk
paying your tax.
The more severe.
What do you think they're fucking buying the vaccines with? Your money. You're paying for it.
We have been piloting vaccinating against flu all school children. Not so much necessarily that they suffer from severe disease with flu, but
I think that's disgusting how they're starting to inject kids up.
Virus. So again, in fact,
perfectly brand new immune systems
this year,
being corrupted
in that.
With a vaccine.
Again, that's
what's going on.
Up and down the amount of flu that's circulating in our communities this winter.
Children loving social services, eh? They won't step in to mention that, though, eh?
That, won't we? So there's that issue of
social services don't come along at the right time, do they, when we talk about stuff?
And the impact on the test and trace system, for example. So again, very important to try.
You won't see social services mentioned out about schools, all these draconian measures in schools, child abuse.
Absolutely, I think you've highlighted a point that, you know, I'm not sure.
And there's your child loving social services for you.
That this coming winter, but as you point out, the initial symptoms of COVID can overlap with a number of the respiratory
overlap.
So and you cough.
Yeah, he's getting thrown in there.